Hi, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to a very special Sipping Off the Cuff. We're calling this Musings about Black Snake Asp Agave Spirit. We, a lot of, Felipe and I, because Felipe is in the UK, I'm here in Southern California. Felipe is this year, we've been very fortunate because we've had several agave spirits that were sent to us from other countries uh, or from importers in the UK who are, UK only. And we've just been blessed. We've had rums from the Yucatan. We've had Posh that's also from northern Mexico. That stuff that's just barely making it to the U.S., just barely, but it's been in the UK for a while. And then we've had agave spirits. We've had tequila from New Zealand. We were fortunate to get samples of that. This sample, this is agave Americana. And a lot of the reason we're doing this, it's very informal. You'll probably hear my air conditioning going on in the background. My door's open. I got lights on. The reason we're doing this is because it may be the only time that we'll ever get a chance to get this close to Oz. And we find that we're very pensive. There's so many intangibles that Felipe and I talk about that we feel are worthy for you folks to listen in on. This is kind of like behind the scenes, kind of like really literally off the cuff. Felipe, you were saying something about the eucalyptus. Tell everybody what you were telling me about that.
Koala bears, they are. What was I saying? No, it's just it was just the whole, like, I mean, obviously if you look at the piece that we've done, you're looking through the book that you've written on it, and you're reading about it, but all the time I'm trying to think of what I should have picked up, that it was eucalyptus, solely by the fact that it was, from Australia. It's almost like a national stereotype, it's koala bears and eucalyptus and Steve Irwin, and as soon as you said it, it's just everything just went.
I almost made a crack about having a steak and just make sure it's not from a kangaroo tail, but that would be a really bad joke. Anyway,
yeah, it's terrible.
terrible. Actually,
it's a taste if you're not eating kangaroo. I had kangaroo.
Believe it or not, a few years ago, Jack in the Box, a big chain of restaurants here in Southern California, throughout the U.S., probably, mainly in California, they were investigated and busted when they discovered that part of their ground beef to make their patties for their burgers had kangaroo meat.
Oh.
That's when I first heard about it. This was over 12, 15, 20 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time. And Jack,
I could see them putting it in with beef, from what I can remember, because I had it about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like a bit beefy, but it's beefy, but kind of like of itself. Do you know?
It's a little gamey. Yeah, probably. It tastes like buffalo. I don't know. So we're talking amongst ourselves, and we're going, well, see, the thing with eucalyptus is it's not a tree that has, to my knowledge, has ever been used in Mexican agave spirits, anything coming out of Mexico, because it's not a tree that is. Most often when they make mezcal, it's a mesquite, or they use something else. To my knowledge, eucalyptus is not something that is prominently used as a wood, and I'm not sure why, because this was glorious. And the thing is, we don't have a bar. That's just it. That's the beauty of your olfactory senses. Until you have what you can't get in your own country, and you understand where it's coming from and the natural resources there, and how they're coming up with something that's truly, it's mezcal with an Australian accent, just like they say it is.
Yeah, everything from now on we're going to be doing is that eucalyptus? You can taste it.
Now,
there's a new one added to it.
Now it's in our olfactory data bank. It's there forever. We'll always be able to pick it out. So when another country somewhere decides that they want to make an agave spirit, and we're going to go, okay, this isn't that kind of wood. That's not that kind of wood. That's eucalyptus.
Mm.
I bet. Or, or something similar, an offshoot.
I am going to have a sip more.
I trying to nurse the rest of this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, because
It's bubbles on that already.
Look at that. Yeah. In fact, now that I have more rooms, just so you folks can see that, this is look at that. That's as good as any mezcal we've had. That's a bubble worth of mezcal. Okay. Again, I look for that. They're calling it perlas. It's not a. It isn't a standard of quality, but it's a good sign. Okay. Everything comes down to your flavor palate and whether you like it or not. But the bubbles are always a good sign. And I can't say enough about it.
Do you know what? I just got a little bit of licorice off of that.
See, it starts to. That's what we found with Tequila. The further down we went with Tequila, the more it bloomed and opened up and revealed itself. Tequila was very shy. It took a while for it to open up and bloom, and I think that's why we did the second Musings. We're going to call this Musings on Asp.
We did have tiny samples, it's very small samples of tequila as well, didn't we? So it was when you're having it, you're like, okay, I can't just put a bit more in. You've really got to study it. Yeah.
I still have the other sample. I haven't unsealed it, because again, it could be the only time. That's the closest I get to New Zealand.
I use them as bottlenecks, slides.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, they work really well.
I love the character. It's dry. We're not going to lie to you. It's a dry finish. That's okay. You're going to have to save the rest of yours and put it with a cigar that you're going to have later on. I want to see that photo when you put it out. Yeah, there you go.
I got that much. That's it for now.
That's lovely. I think it's so unique, and that it's not blue agave. It's agave americana. So it's a whole different plant. When it comes to mezcal, it's one of the plants you're allowed to make mezcal with. It's not uncommon to see it in medleys or medleys and the mixtures of two or three different plants. I like to call them medleys, but I think that there's another word for it when you have three plants together. Right now it escapes me because I'm so enamored by this.
A ménage à trois.
Yeah, a ménage à trois. No, it's wow. I'm just drawing a blank. Anyway, medley is one of the words that they use, and technically I like using medley when they use two different plants in the same, beverage. And this would be really interesting to even blend with another one if they could find another. If for some reason there was blue agave growing where they live, it'd be interesting to taste what a medley would be like with this as a base. An 80-20 medley or whatever. Not so much, but 80-20 might be really good. I mean, I don't make anything, so it's up to them, however they want to do it. I'd like to know how they got bourbon barrels. I'd like to know how they got those. That must have been a pretty penny or a great story to tell, how they got the bourbon barrels into Australia, in the bush where they are. Because how do you find? And that's first generation. That's a first use, one use only. Because those aren't cheap. Barrels of their own from cooperages aren't cheap anyway to begin with. But to get a single use, those usually go right to tequila companies. They want that one-time use, or not. Some of them look for like a G4 looks for the extremely old, beat-up barrels because he doesn't want. He wants the character of the agave to come through. And on this one, I don't think you can tame this agave. The character comes through regardless of the barrel. Um, but I would like to taste it, from a used barrel, more a multi-use barrel, to see
I
what
think
that would happen.
I think a Blanco would be interesting.
Well, I
On
know
that
it's
as well.
available
Just
in Blanco. Yeah, uh, I'd love that.
putting it in there. Rosemary.
I
If
would
you're
love to
listening,
try that
Rosemary.
too. Yeah, maybe if we beg hard enough, we'll get it for like next year. But a Joven would be, yes, to taste the root,
Mm.
the primary the base of this, to taste it as a Joven, not out of the still, but what was that, 12 months in glass? Isn't that what she said? 12 months in glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to taste it, and even
Yeah.
I'd have to spend a whole lot of time in Australia, but it'd be fun to taste it month to month, to see before they put it in the barrel, to see how it evolves in glass. There's so many things that you could do with this thing, and it's just sky's the limit for the.
Yeah, it's early days for him, isn't it?
Yeah. I gotta sneak one more sip. I'm really enamored by this because, again, this could be the closest I get to Oz. But what I really enjoy, though, Felipe, is the fact that this really defines Australia. I haven't had any of the other blue agave ones that are available, like Pinche Tequila or Pinche Agave Spirit's not available. That's a blue agave spirit, and that's all sold out. That's gone. I can't. There's no possible way I can get any of that. At least not this year. I'm going to keep trying, but but to me, this is really definitive of what's using what's available in your area and then coming up with something like this. It's just brilliant.
Yeah. She's Rosemary was saying that they had trouble to start off with, which is completely unsurprising considering the land and the rainfall. But if that's what's come out of it, they've done themselves proud with that.
Yeah, I know that they have problems with fermentation because I guess the weather there is extreme, and fermenting like in the wintertime is a whole different story than fermenting in the summer because of the extremities of the weather. So they really have had to overcome challenges that you don't see in Mexico, and you don't even see in some other countries that are making agave spirits. You probably don't get that kind of it probably isn't so much of a problem. Maybe the Andes, maybe Peru or Ecuador could be, simply because the altitude is so high. But I think their challenges there would be more in distillation, because I think the altitude affects how they distill. I know it does. In Mexico, I think that there's some brands. I know Siembra Azul really prefer to ferment and distill in the wintertime, where it's not so warm. So because the fermentation is more thorough and it takes longer because the weather is not as intense as it is during the rainy season or the hot season. So I can only imagine that's got to be a nightmare. Their first few tries had to. I read some of the information online in some of the articles, and they've had to the stuff they had to do to heat up the fermentation room during the wintertime just to get fermentation going.
Yeah. And also the plant is a clone from the original.
What's that?
I see. Probably message I got off of Rosemary was the blah 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 rainfall, and our plant is a clone from the original, and there's no bats to pollinate. It's full of saponins. It's a devil to ferment.
Oh yeah.
So they say with it. So they've done whatever it is that they had to get that out of it is just adds to it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I've, God bless them because this is not easy, and especially for two people who originally didn't have any background,
Probably not.
yeah. So it's like, well, I'd love to interview them. I think maybe that's what I'll do. That may be my next step is to have them on our open bar interview show, and have them tell us their story, how they came about, um, why, Because I ask that question of everybody, whether they're making a tequila that's mainstream or an agave spirit. My first question is, what drove you to do this? Because I know what the end result is, but this is the end of their story. I want the beginning of the story. I want all of it. I want all of it. And that may be my next step is to invite them onto open bar, and maybe we'll have you on there as well, so we can have like a quartet, and
Sure.
We'll have to figure out the time zones because that's a whole different story. But we'll figure it out. We'll do something with them because that's just, it's lovely. It really is worth the time.
Well, I'm easy for that. I mean, even if it's like 9 o'clock in the morning here, it'll be fine for me. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, you used to watching the Raiders games in the middle of the night, aren't you?
Yeah. To be fair, actually, the kickoffs this season, I looked at the time, some of them are 6 p.m., 9 p.m. UK time. It's only like the Thursday night and the Monday night games that are
Yeah.
the real pain. But I'll stay for them, I've got my own business, so like it's not like I can call in sick or something.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll just lay in bed.
When you work for yourself, you take your own time.
Yes, it's not a problem.
Anyway, folks, those are our musings on Black Snake Distillery and the Reposado. Again, I want to thank the folks at Black Snake for making this happen. Whenever you folks are ready and you wanna take another chance, send us another birthday present, please do.
My birthday's in September.
September. Oh, hey, that would be just in time for our 2022 season. Oh, hey, this year will be the most submissions we've ever had for Sipping Off the Cuff and for our brands of promise. And I want to thank everybody, even everybody outside the United States and outside of Mexico who made this happen. It's been fun. Felipe, thank you so much for musing with us. Hey, man, whatever you guys do, follow us on all of our social media. Follow Felipe on all the social media. Follow Black Snake Distillery. Look them up on Instagram. Please look them up on Instagram. Send mezcal, send Ozcal, whatever you want to call it. Ozcal. And hey, whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely, my friends.